Did you experience the Auckland anniversary storms or Cyclone Gabriel? Or did you go to higher ground after the Hungatunga Hungahapai volcanic eruption triggered a tsunami? Or maybe you remember the powerful shaking that occurred during the Kaikoura and Christchurch earthquakes. Located on a plate boundary in the South Pacific, New Zealand is no stranger to extreme weather, volcanic eruptions, and earthquakes. But do these natural hazards have to result in natural disasters? Join me for this short taster lecture on what makes natural disasters and what we can do to prevent them. I'm Dr. Carolyn Boulton, a senior lecturer at Te Haringa Waka, Victoria University of Wellington. Natural disasters happen when a climatic or geological hazard overwhelms local resources and threatens the safety of a community. But disasters are not inevitable. We can do a lot to stop natural hazards from turning into disasters. In February 2011, a magnitude 6.3 earthquake struck the residents of Christchurch. The epicenter of the earthquake was located less than 10 kilometers from the CBD, so the city experienced extreme shaking, which caused buildings to collapse, cliffs to fall, soil to liquefy, and house foundations to crack. Several thousand people were injured, and tragically, 185 people lost their lives. Although the effects of the earthquake are still evident, Christchurch is once again a thriving city. The Christchurch earthquake was a disaster because it overwhelmed local communities and local governments' short-term ability to cope. Yet it also showed how social factors influence our ability to deal with disasters. After the earthquake, marae opened across the South and North Islands to provide places of support. The Student Volunteer Army mobilized to deliver meals and shovel silt from liquefaction-affected neighborhoods. And relatively high levels of insurance helped people and businesses recover. Cultural strengths, social connections, and economic circumstances all influence how a potential disaster plays out. New Zealand will continue to experience natural hazards, but by working across disciplines, we can understand why some events become disasters, and we can mitigate and prevent them. There are two main ways we can understand and prepare for natural hazards. On the physical side, we can create maps that show the location of active faults, liquefaction-prone soils, hill slopes likely to experience landslides, low-lying areas at risk of tsunami, rivers that can flood, and volcanoes that can erupt. We have a huge array of new tools that we can use to create weather forecasts, monitor volcanic unrest, measure earthquake activity, detect the early stages of a landslide, and even study rivers and sea level from space. These techniques help us understand the natural hazard, but they can't help us eliminate it. We can also study the physical, economic, political, and social factors that make some communities more vulnerable to natural hazards. Research and experience shows that structural inequalities in society can limit people's ability to prepare for and recover from hazards. For example, low-income housing with lower levels of insurance is often located in areas prone to multiple hazards. At the same time, there's more than one way to live with and prepare for hazardous events. Within a Te Ao Māori framework, researchers Matthew Rout and colleagues emphasize that strengthening our communities, caring for our natural world, and understanding our natural environment will improve our pre-disaster planning and our emergency response. Studying the processes that cause natural hazards and the social and cultural factors that influence their effects allows us to minimize the risks that can lead to disasters. In practice, this can mean a wide range of actions. Fundamentally, it means reducing the structural inequalities that limit people's ability to cope with hazards. It also means doing practical things like improving our building construction codes, building houses in sensible places, stabilizing slopes, installing early warning systems, identifying evacuation routes, and preparing essential emergency supplies. Living in Aotearoa, New Zealand means living alongside natural hazards and taking actions to limit their harmful effects. We can reduce the risks of disasters. Disasters are preventable. If you find these ideas interesting, study for a Bachelor of Environment and Society at Te Haringawaka, Victoria University of Wellington.